right.
Led Zeppelin at the Newport Jazz Festival.
So tell us that story of being on the Yardbirds bus.
That's a true story.
I believe you. I remember it.
Well, Mountain Park in Holyoke, it's been reopened kind of like that. But back in the in the 50s and 60s, it was an amusement park, and there was a place called the Starlight Ballroom there. That's where they had the live music, and we would go there once in a while. And I didn't see a ton of shows there though, like some other people did. But everybody and their brother played there. Jerry Lee Lewis, the Everly Brothers, the Lovin' Spoonful. I saw the Animals there. I saw the Kingsmen. And I saw the Yardbirds in 1968.
So that's where you met Jimmy Page.
Yes. Yeah, like met him. I mean, we talked to him, and said hi to him. I mean, so I guess you could say we met him. Because when they were kicking everybody out after, we were right up against the stage, so the place was packed. If you look back there, was all bodies. Me and my buddy were right up against the stage, and the Yardbirds were right here. There was Keith Burrell. Jimmy Page's legs were right there. I could have reached over and touched him, and he had an Indian robe on, and he kept looking up at the ceiling, and Chris Drager was playing bass, and the drummer was a union guy in a narrow shirt from New York. Jim McCarty was sick. They got a guy from New York City where they had been the night before, and they played him Yardbirds records in the back room or something. And they put a narrow shirt on him, and they just, give him cues. I mean, Jimmy Page wasn't giving him cues. The whole night, Jimmy Page just looked at the ceiling, played the whole night looking up at the ceiling with this little Indian robe on. And so me and my buddy, Pete, we were amazed. We were so impressed. I mean, we could look at that. He never looks at the guitar. Oh my God! I can't believe it. And so then they're kicking everybody out. The security people are kicking everybody out. We hid in the corner in the dark. Just the two of us hid in the corner. They kicked everybody out. We come walking out. There's Keith Rolfe standing there. We go over and talk to him. He signs the thing. I still got his autograph on a card. Chris Drager signed something. Then we go outside, and there's their bus, but walking down from the midway is Jimmy Page with this blonde-haired woman on his arm. He's still got the Indian robe on, and he's walking right towards us. So we go over and, of course, start talking to him. He's very sweet, very nice guy, and he starts talking about Hendrix to us. Signs the Yardbirds promo picture, which I still have at home in one of my drawers.
Wow.
And so anyway, I don't know where they take off to. But anyway, there's the bus. This was no high-tech bus. It looked like an old old beat-up school bus. And my buddy lived in Willimantic. There we are. That's in Chicopee there. We're up on Route 5. And I lived down the hill in Holyoke at that time. We got to walk. We have no car. I forget how we got there. We must have got a ride, or we walked, but it's getting late. And there's their bus. So the door is open on the bus, and we go walking in the bus. The only two people on the bus, Chris Drager, the bass player, we didn't even meet. He signed an autograph for us. He's just sitting in there. He's tired. He doesn't even look at us twice because he didn't even think, like, what are these guys doing? Meanwhile, though, the other guy on the bus is this huge guy. What's his name? Peter Grant. He ended up managing Zeppelin, but he was managing the Yardbirds. And he looked at us like he was not too pleased. And, we're just a couple of teenagers from Holyoke. And he kind of looks at us like, what are you doing? He didn't say that. He didn't look too friendly. He's pretty big. And he was kind of, he was trying to be polite, but he wasn't really polite. He was like, what the? But, we had walked on the bus they didn't ask us to. And so we figured we'd go up and ask them for a ride.
That's great.
There was no one else around. We couldn't afford a cab or anything. We'd have a phone. Oh, my God, we have a phone. So anyway, it's not like there were cabs driving around. But it's kind of like, what do you want? And then we finally got, and we were like very polite. Oh, sir, would you mind giving us a ride home? He didn't have to think very long. He kind of sat back and he went, no! He screamed.
That sounds like Peter
hair
Grant.
kind of went back or something. Yo, okay. We did a U-turn and we were off that bus in seconds. And we started our walk home.
That's a great story.
We started our walk home, and that was our biggest brush with them.
That is a great story.
That really happened, yeah. And I'll tell you, the walk wasn't that bad walking home because we had just heard those guys. We got to say hi to them. We had their autographs, and we're thinking, oh my God, we were huge Yardbirds fans. Oh man.
Did you have any idea how big they would get? Do you have any idea?
No, well, to us, the Yardbirds were huge. We loved the Yardbirds. People loved the Yardbirds. I grew up with people that I would buy all those later 45s, like the Night Sweet Josephine, the Ha-Has, and the Clown, the ones that weren't on albums later, the version of 10 Little Indians. I would play those every day and turn the B-sides over. We all would play. My buddies would come and we'd play Think About It, the B-side, which Zeppelin ended up doing in another form. But we'd play Think About It. We all stand around my record player and go, oh my God, listen to that. We just loved that band. So it was like huge to go see the Yardbirds. I mean, they were like bigger to us than Led Zeppelin. I mean, when Led Zeppelin first came out, when Zeppelin first came out, Jeff Beck's album, Truth, had already been out. I think Led Zeppelin, to me, they sounded like they were modeled after that band, you know, with the raspy, more raspy kind of singing and Beck. And so basically, though, I listened to Truth and I listened to Zeppelin's first album, and I'd been listening to Little Games when that came out. I love all those records. I mean, the first Zeppelin album is my favorite Zeppelin album to this day because it was the first one, and you know, we were so into Jimmy Page from the minute we heard he was starting a new band. We're right there, you know.
Yeah.
And we were sitting around on a Sunday later on, a year or so later, in Holyoke, and it was the weekend of the Newport Jazz Festival. It was the year George Wein was starting to put like Jeff Beck on the bill and John Mayall, but it was the last day of it. And it turns down the fences had all been knocked down, not by us because we were in Holyoke.
I read about that.
Yeah, and so we're sitting around Holyoke in the morning, and we go, what are we going to do today? And somebody goes, hey, let's go to Newport. Led Zeppelin, this Jimmy Page's band, Led Zeppelin's playing. I'm like, what? Yeah, this afternoon. Let's go there. We got nothing to do. We had no plans. We just, four of us jump in a car. We drive to Newport. We go park the car. We get out. There's no cover. We don't have to pay. We go walking in. It's just they gave up. They just had the gates open. Yeah, come on in. And we go walking in. All of a sudden, who comes? Herbie Hancock's playing solo piano. He gets done. Johnny Winter comes out with his original trio, big Marshall stacks. And then in the middle of the set, this roadie comes out with a little twin reverb, puts it on a chair, and he goes, now for the rest of the set, my good friend B.B. King's going to sit in with us. Here comes B.B. with Lucille, plays the rest of the set. Then Buddy Rich and his big band come on next. And who's on last? Led Zeppelin. Everybody's freaking out at the Jazz Festival. Now here they are. They're closing the whole weekend, Led Zeppelin. And all of a sudden, they come out, and they start playing, and the PA's not on. The sound guy forgot to turn the PA back on. And Robert Plant is singing through a mic with no PA, and he's way the hell in the distance, and you could hear him, you know?
Of course.
And the ramps were on, of course, but they weren't coming through the PA, and somebody's yelling, turn the PA on. All of a sudden, like, the sound guy hit the switch, and it was like dazed and confused or something. It was like, everybody in the place went crazy. Whoa, yeah. And John Bonham, you could tell, Buddy Rich had done this amazing drum solo, and then it got to the point in the Zeppelin set where Bonham did his solo, and he just stood on his drum seat. He stood way up and he just smashed cymbals as a tribute to Buddy Rich. He just went, I can't even begin to, like, I'm not going to try to top that. I can't. Just as an homage to Buddy Rich, he was so amazing. And Bonham was an incredible drummer. So you know, you could tell he was just out of respect for like Buddy Rich. He's going, I'm just going to do this. I heard what he did before at the end of the Buddy Rich thing, the last Buddy Rich thing. He did a big solo. I was like, oh, goodness, okay. I'm sure Bonham was probably backstage watching.
That is a great story. That is just great.
I didn't embellish. That's a true story.
I believe it. Oh, and that's
some
backed
stories
up by
need
facts.
embellishing. A lot of stories.